Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's story is one of the most intense and unexpected military confrontations in recent years. It involves the United States Navy, the Venezuelan Air Force, and a sudden air interception that shocked both sides. This incident didn't just test military strategy. It revealed just how quickly a routine patrol at sea can turn into a deadly standoff. So let's go deep into what really happened when a U.S. Navy warship found itself targeted by Venezuelan F-16 fighter jets, and how the situation escalated from tension to a moment that nearly started a regional conflict. It all started when the U.S. Navy destroyer, operating legally in international waters near the Caribbean, was conducting freedom of navigation operations. These missions are common for the United States, especially in regions where tensions run high or where territorial claims are disputed. On this day, the sea was calm, the skies were clear, and the crew was going through its regular operations. But hundreds of miles away in Venezuela, military radar operators were watching the movement of the ship with growing concern. The Venezuelan government had been on edge for weeks, convinced that the U.S. was planning to pressure them politically and possibly even militarily. So when they saw the warship moving closer to what they considered their maritime territory, alarms went off. The Venezuelan Air Force quickly scrambled two F-16 fighter jets. These aircraft are fast, agile, and built for air superiority. Their job was to intercept the American ship, identify it, and send a message, "Do not get any closer." As the jets took off, word spread across both militaries. On board the U.S. destroyer, radar operators detected the approaching aircraft. The bridge immediately went into heightened alert. Every crew member knew what this meant. Fighter jets closing in on a warship can't be ignored. This could be a routine encounter, or it could be the beginning of something far more dangerous. The captain of the destroyer ordered air defense systems to track the jets. The ship's radar locked onto the incoming aircraft, while crew members manned weapon stations. They didn't point weapons yet. That would be seen as provocative, but they were prepared. The Venezuelan pilots, meanwhile, were receiving strict instructions from their command. Get close enough to show presence, but do not fire unless fired upon. The tension in those cockpits must have been overwhelming. One wrong move, one misinterpreted signal, and both nations could have found themselves in a crisis. As the jets approached visual range, things escalated quickly. The Venezuelan pilots began flying dangerously low and close to the destroyer, making aggressive passes. They were trying to intimidate the Americans, to force them to change course. On board the U.S. destroyer, the captain tried to communicate over radio. Repeated calls went unanswered. Whether the Venezuelan jets ignored the calls or simply didn't receive them, no one knows for sure. But what happened next changed everything. One of the Venezuelan pilots activated his targeting radar. This was the moment that set off alarms across the destroyer. Targeting radar isn't just scanning. It means I am preparing to fire. The U.S. crew responded instantly. The ship's Aegis combat system locked onto the F-16, tracking it with precision. In just seconds, the crew was ready to fire surfaced, where missiles that could destroy the jet mid-flight. The air defense officer reported to the captain that they were one step away from engagement. But before anyone could open fire, something unexpected happened. A nearby U.S. Navy P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft, which had been monitoring the situation from above, intervened. The aircraft began broadcasting emergency messages on international frequencies, calling both sides to stand down. It wasn't just a message, it was a warning. If Venezuela didn't back off, the U.S. Navy would respond with overwhelming force. The Venezuelan pilots suddenly found themselves facing a situation they hadn't fully anticipated. They knew their aircraft were outmatched by the destroyer's advanced missile systems and the U.S. aircraft overhead. If they fired first, they wouldn't just spark a fight, they'd lose. After a few tense moments, the Venezuelan command finally contacted the pilots and ordered them to disengage. The jets pulled away, climbing higher into the sky and slowly turning back toward Venezuelan airspace. On the U.S. destroyer, a collective sigh of relief swept across the ship. The crew stayed on alert, but everyone knew how close they had come to disaster. One wrong move, one miscalculation, or one emotional reaction could have led to a missile launch. And from there, the conflict could have escalated into something far more serious, possibly drawing in multiple nations. But the story doesn't end there. After the incident, military analysts around the world began dissecting the confrontation. Some saw it as a show of Venezuelan resistance, a message that they wouldn't be intimidated by international naval presence. Others believed it was a dangerous and unnecessary provocation that could have cost lives. The United States released statements emphasizing its right to operate in international waters and warning against further aggression. Venezuela, on the other hand, claimed it was defending its sovereignty. Behind the scenes, diplomatic channels went into overdrive. No one wanted open conflict. Nations across Latin America watched closely, worried that any escalation could destabilize the entire region. Intelligence reports later suggested that the Venezuelan pilots involved were praised internally, but also warned to avoid pushing situations too far in the future. The U.S. Navy quietly adjusted its patrol routes, not to retreat, but to avoid unnecessary risks. This incident serves as a reminder of just how fragile peace can be. 2 aircraft and 1 ship nearly triggered an international crisis. A simple radar lock turned a routine patrol into a life or death standoff. And yet, professionalism and restraint from both sides prevented a catastrophe. Moments like this happen more often than the public ever hears about. The oceans are full of military encounters, close interceptions, and tense standoffs that never make the news. What matters most is how those moments are handled. In this case, cooler heads prevailed. So the next time you hear about warships at sea or fighter jets in the sky, remember that behind every maneuver are real people, pilots, sailors, and officers, making split-second decisions that could change the direction of history. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like, share, and subscribe for more stories from the world of global military power. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.